crashed lunar mission, a man stranded, the cold depths of space. Not exactly a small production pitch, until we start talking virtual production. This is The Last Man, a UK shot short film about a stranded astronaut, all shot on an LED wall. And these are the minds behind it. We sat down with Roxie, Nazia, and Matt to talk about how small-scale virtual production can bring big ideas to life like this short film. If you want to check it out, the link to the full short is in the description of this video. All right, let's go.
3, 2, 1.
With XR virtual production becoming more popular, it's super interesting to see other people's setups and stages. Now, as those stages get smaller and more accessible, we're gonna see more educational facilities for XR virtual production, which is what the team behind The Last Man kinda is. Let's get into it.
We're based at the University of Surrey. We've got a course here called Digital Media Arts, sort of virtual production test stage just down the road from us in a facility that's being run by a company called Target 3D.
Because we're doing so much testing, you don't have outputs at the end of the day. So seeing actually something we can show to people that they understand, that isn't just cubes. I think that's really nice.
What were some challenges that you guys came with shooting on LED?
We used a system called Disguise. That would basically override so much stuff coming out of Unreal, and you'd need to have someone that could code, override the overrides pretty much. We switched to N-Display.
Whoa, we haven't covered N-Display. Let's do that really quick. Put as simple as possible. N-Display takes your virtual environment and scales it to a larger immersive display in real time. It does that by distributing the pixels of that environment or image over multiple machines that are simultaneously rendering and blending the shot together. I hope that made sense. Back to the interview.
And this was our first shoot using N-Display, and yeah, it went really, really well.
We did so much testing that when we got to filming, we no longer had to worry about tech stuff. It was very much like, oh, we know which camera we're using because this is the shot we're using, so all you needed to do is do light changes and things like that. Now we can focus on acting and we can focus on filmmaking and coming out with something that can tell a story as well.
We use Unreal environment for the pre-vis as well as the actual shoot. So when it came to it, I just moved the N-Display config to wherever the cameras were. It saved a lot of time on the tech issues, so we could just focus on filming.
One of the big buzzes of XR virtual production is no post work required. But that's definitely not the case based on the projects that we've done and projects that we've talked about with others. So I had to ask the team, was there any post-processing?
Fog around when he's laying down and stuff, you see like a little bit of that because we didn't have that on set.
But it was really a bit of dust, wasn't it?
Well, I had to ask about it, so clearly whoever did it did a great job.
Thank you.
My personal favorite shot of this film is when the astronaut sees the rocket taking off without him in his helmet. Now, this is something they planned out beforehand, but also a shot that's specific to virtual production. But I'll let them explain.
That's a good example of something that you can only really do in virtual production. I mean, you could otherwise have to comp it on like a 3D, visor. And this you can just sort of stand them in front of a wall.
Yeah, and just added loads of bloom to it to just make it look like reflective.
Yeah, and we tested that shot like twice, I think.
Something we talk about all the time on this channel is hiding the seam between the screen and your set deck. That's something I thought The Last Man did pretty well. So when they talked about it, I was excited.
We managed to make the foreground blend with the background as one. I think that's another huge issue we had was, I think one shoot we used AstroTurf to look like grass, and it didn't look good. We have a production designer that made rocks to cover the line between the screen and the foreground. It really blended as one.
The idea even came out of we need to make something simple, a little bit monochromatic, so we can blend the foreground elements that are real with the screen. And partially this was like, okay, we know we need to spend a little bit of money on production design. It's going to be the thing that actually sells it.
Yeah. Had you ever tried something that was like a zero gravity situation?
We wanted to have someone dangling if we could. There's a lot of issues with that. And also we don't have the budget for that.
I want to give a huge shout out to Matt, Nazia, and Roxie for this interview. And thank you so much for showing me your short film and breaking it down for us. The lesson of this one is that XR virtual production is becoming more accessible to smaller and smaller crews, which just extends the opportunities of creativity in the filmmaking space. And that's always a good thing. Except for people like me whose jobs are going to be taken by these young, fresh, smarter than me college kids. That's not a problem that I need to deal with. just yet. I'm Josh. You're watching CoPilot, and I'll see you in the next one.